Hi, everyone. This is Jillian from Jewish Workshops. It is a pleasure to be joining all of you today, and we are extremely privileged to have Rivka, Malka, Perlman, and Devora, Boroosan on the line. Before we get started, I'd love to see who's joining us and where you're from. So if you can go to your question box and write your first name, or if you're more comfortable with just your initials and where you're joining us from, I would love to be able to welcome you. Let's see. Okay, the names are going to start pouring in. Welcome CK from London and Karen from San Francisco. Welcome AW from Toronto, Rachel from New Jersey, Ruth from California, BC from Philadelphia, Khani from New York. Welcome. NR from Israel, M from Brooklyn, Joellen from Colorado, Marianne from United Arab Emirates. Welcome. Zenid from South Africa, Shauna. Welcome. BM from Lakewood, Shayna from Israel, A from Massachusetts, Ronit from Argentina, Seagal from Toronto, welcome, welcome. Rachel from New York, and TL from Brooklyn, Yael from Israel, Nechama from the UK, Jessica from San Francisco, S from Baltimore, Edna, welcome. Diana from Minnesota, BR from Florida. Welcome to all, and the names continue to come in here. Welcome Mary from Kenya and Rachi from St. Louis. Welcome. We've got people coming in from all over the world. This is really amazing, and some countries that we haven't seen before. So that is exciting as well. We are reaching new heights here at Jewish Workshops. So welcome to everybody. Let me get to a few more. Femi from Lagos. Welcome. Miriam from Yerushalayim. I get a hello from Canada, so welcome to you. Welcome, Sila from Massachusetts. As people continue to join, I want to say welcome to everybody. We have so much to cover today, so I wish that I could get to every single name here. Let me get to Devora from New York. Welcome. Okay, so this is absolutely incredible, as I mentioned. With almost 2,000 signups, we are likely to hit capacity any minute, so please don't leave in the middle. I don't want you to get locked out. As I mentioned, we have so much to go through today. From the time Jewish Workshops began, we've offered a variety of programs on marriage, relationships, personal growth and introspection, and so many more. But this past February was the first time we ever had the opportunity to open the doors to this dynamic sister duo with over 30 years of combined expertise in the field of marriage and intimacy counseling. Since their debut course on marital intimacy, which filled to capacity quicker than any other series we've offered, countless emails and phone calls have come in requesting another opportunity to join. So we asked Rivka, Malka, and Devora to come back, and they readily agreed. We are so lucky to have them. Their passion for helping others is unlike any I've ever seen. So stay tuned until the very end, where we will do our best to answer as many questions as possible live on the line, and to hear about this one-time chance to join Rivka, Malka, and Devora for their full online program at a special discounted rate just for attending today. It is a supreme honor to be hosting Rivka, Malka, Perlman, and Devora, Boroosan. Just as a short introduction, Rivka Malka is a transformation coach and international speaker who seeks to authentically celebrate the divine with every life experience. Through transformation coaching, powerful live presentations, life-changing retreats, and educational videos, Rivka Malka guides people around the world to a joyous place of pure fulfillment. Devora is an educator with over 3 decades of experience in teaching, counseling, and community leadership. Devora is a certified relationship coach with clients in the United States and across the world. She serves as the Rebbitzin of Congregation Netzach Yisrael and provides parenting, marriage, and relationship counseling to members of the shul and the community at large. So Rivka, Malka, and Devora, we are so grateful that you are joining us today. I am going to go ahead and pass the microphone over to you.
All right. Thank you so much. Love being here. Hello.
Hello, everyone. Welcome.
Wow. Wow. Workshop. It's amazing to be here. I'm going to give a little intro and opening. And Devora and I, we usually have our rhythm, how we tag team teach. So you'll get to know us. Occasionally we stumble over each other, but it's great to be back here. This is so important. And I want to open up with a prayer. First of all, a prayer of gratitude. Thank you, Hashem, for allowing us this opportunity. And thank you for bringing all the people who need and want to hear this information into our orbit so we could share this very, very holy space together. And please may our words find favor in your eyes and help to heal hearts and heal marriages. God willing, in an unprecedented way.
Amen.
Amen. Okay, my friends.
And thank you, Jewish Workshops, for allowing us once again to come back. You do a beautiful, beautiful job reaching the world.
Yeah.
Really changing the world. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, Rivka, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who came. It's our experience that has shown us that most people, in my made-up statistic, I like to say 95% of the people of the population of the world has some sort of confusion / satisfaction / yearning, longing for something to be expanded in their intimate life. And how many people will sign up to a webinar and take some time for themselves to say, okay, I'm actually going to admit this to myself, and I'm actually going to open myself up to a possibility of hope that like maybe things could be different. So it's really huge. We consider you our people. We get you. We think you're amazing. You're truly brave and courageous, and we're excited to be with you. And I want to tell you our intention today and our intention in this course. Our intention, quite simply, is to be as helpful and as holy as possible. In the Talmud, in the Gemara, the discussion of intimacy is spoken about at length and in very graphic terms. And there's a reason for that. The reason is because intimacy does not take place in the brain. It's something that actually happens with the physical body, with another person. And so we do ourselves a big disservice to just talk around the topic without actually discussing anatomy, libido, gender structures, all kinds of real things, feelings, emotions, illness, aging, trauma, body image, all these kinds of things that are like, they're real. They happen to this real physical person on the ground in real life. So one of our major goals is to be as practical as possible, as useful as possible, and to be explicit in being helpful. And as I mentioned, our second goal is to be as holy as possible. And this subject is the subject of the highest holiness. Highest holiness. It's the ultimate expression of love, where there's nothing in between. And it's something that is like so precious to God, so precious to Hashem. He wants us to succeed in this, and he wants us to work towards this. It doesn't happen like a snap. All our work towards this is the work of becoming able to be more loving and to receive more love. So there is a sacredness about this topic, huge sacredness. To that end, there's a couple things I'm going to tell you. Number one, this space of the webinar is going to, God willing, be helpful, but it is still a public space. Our actual class is going to be more of a closed space. So that affords us more modesty to get into the meat of things in much more detail, and balancing out, how to be public and how to be modest. We've discovered that it really is, it ends up feeling like a very private space when we're on our 8-week course together. Don't you think, Devora? Yes. Oh, I can't hear you. I'm not hearing you, by the way. So that's one thing to know. And the second thing is that especially Devora, with her over 35 years of experience in counseling couples, she has extensive connections with rabbis, rabbanim, and asks shilas about everything, like everything for everyone in the strangest situations. If you have a strange situation, you'll probably land up at Devora's doorstep. You can't scare this woman. You can't freak her out. You can't surprise her. Everything's really matter of fact, and she will like march it right up to the rabbi's doorstep if necessary to get the Torah outlook on this or the halachic ruling on this. So everything.
As a matter of fact, nothing is presented at all during this entire class or workshop without being run past first a panel of Rabbanim to make sure that it's being presented in both a proper and appropriate way and also a halachically acceptable way.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that. Absolutely, and thank you for doing that footwork, Devora, because it's real footwork and it's been done. So that also kind of is the foundation for our holiness, that we know that we're in a safe space over here, my friends. So before I pass the mic to Devora, I want to say two more things. Number one, please pardon me if I cough. I had corona not long ago, and it's still kind of it's gone, but I'm catching up. And the second thing is, I would love to hear from you, friends, in the chat box, just to make a connection with you. And the way we'd like to make a connection is like this. Please tell us how you're doing. It's the middle of the day. You've joined this class. We're getting excited. And how you feeling? Take your emotional pulse. And your emotional pulse, you just want to try to find that word. Are you hopeful, happy, scared, nervous, worried, anxious? I don't know. Over the top, like ecstatic. Just write it in the chat box for us so we know where you are. And Devora, where are you? Can you just tell us?
I am so grateful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for connecting us with so many people. After our last class, I was bombarded with phone calls, with emails, with WhatsApps, with people whose whole worlds opened up and possibilities opened up. And we followed up with discussions. And it was just, it just gives me this feeling of enormous both gratitude to Hashem and hopefulness for so many people out there, that whatever you're struggling with, or if it's good and you just want to make it way better, that you have that opportunity now. It's something Hashem has gifted us the possibility of sharing with you, and I'm just feeling awesome about it.
Yeah, wasn't it fun that it was an 8-week course? So as the people got in touch with us, we got to watch them grow. It's not like information. It's like the couples were growing as we were. It was very special.
I had so many follow-ups saying, oh my goodness, this just happened. This changed my life. I can't believe it. This would have overwhelmed me before. And now I have this. And later on, when you hear about the possibility of the course, you'll see that it comes along with a phone call. And that gives you a chance to reach out to me or to Rivka Malka personally. And that, again, develops this personal connection. So even though we're in a public space, sort of, really, it's a very private, intimate space while we're talking.
Rivka Malka, I just want to read some of these comments of how people are feeling right now. So we've got someone feeling really good and healthy, interested, hopeful, sad, skeptical but willing to listen. Baruch Hashem, a little nervous but excited to be taking action towards my goals. Hopeful and eager to learn, excited to be here, a little apprehensive, happy to be listening. Let's see, hopeful, overwhelmed, but grateful. A lot of people can't hear, so we're going to go ahead and help you with that. And grateful. So that's good.
Okay.
I'm going to put on headphones. What? That I think maybe you'll be able to hear better. Is that possible?
Yeah, go ahead and try it.
Okay, sorry everyone. I'm going to say bye a second.
Okay, she'll be right back. Here we go.
Let's see if that works better.
So those are cool.
Okay, can you hear me better?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome.
Okay, awesome. Friends who are excited, welcome. Friends who are apprehensive, special welcome. It's a big day, and it is Tu B'Av, the day of love, just in time. Let me tell you what's going to happen on our call today. God willing, we are going to be offering you 3. You can't hear me?
No, I can't hear.
You cannot hear me. Let's say a little prayer. Please,
I can hear you. You can continue, and we'll help Rivka. We'll help Devora.
Okay, thank you. We are going to be covering 3 principles and 3 tips. And our goal in doing this is to give you some really core takeaways that you can just walk home with and implement in your life right away. Okay, so Devo, oh my gosh, this is the funny day. Devora, can we hear you now?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I have to
Good.
say my favorite person was the skeptical person. Because I think that along with the hope, we all have a certain amount of skepticism.
Totally.
Because we've been really struggling this whole time, or we've been really hoping, or we've been really yearning for change to come about. And the person who's skeptical doesn't even feel like they're ready to hear something that's going to change. And so for you and for everyone else on this call, but specifically for you, I'm offering you the hope that if you really, really open up your heart, you'll be able to hear and absorb some of what we're saying, and that it will change your life. And that you'll really find that there's something to hope for.
Yeah.
So that is my bracha to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'd like to go into some of the questions that came our way so our listeners can understand what are some of the things we're aiming to answer. Okay. Do you want me to begin, or do you want to begin?
Yeah, sure. Some of the questions that there were many questions that came in already ahead. And a lot of them had to do with situations that were going on at home, whether positive, but they wanted to make it better. But most often things that couples have been struggling with in intimacy, in shalom bayis, in connectedness, in intimacy, in saying what they need, in mismatched libido, in trying to get through to their husbands what their needs are, trying to get through to their wives what their needs are. Really expand the entire relationship, because the reality is that intimacy covers your entire relationship. It is involved in your entire relationship. Intimacy is not only what we find in the bedroom. Intimacy is the unique relationship we have just with our husband or our wife. Only and only with them. It's like a special language you use when you talk with each other. It's a special understanding. It's a giving over of self. It's a vulnerability. It's just the ability to bond with this one person and this one person only in a way that you can actually bond with no other. And of course, when there's such intensity, there's going to be such difficulty and such challenges to reach that, because the greater the goal, the more steps you're going to have to take to get there.
I love that you used that word intensity, because it was amazing, and it is amazing in the questions that came in, how intense it is. Something like weight. I'm no longer attracted to him. He gained a lot of weight. I no longer feel attractive. I gained a lot of weight. How do I tell him how to pleasure me? I'm embarrassed. How do I even get comfortable with my body? How do we make time when we're both so exhausted at the end of the day? How do I deal with it when I want more than he wants, or when she doesn't want me and I want her? How do I deal with just the body not functioning? A dryness, or just all kinds of like nuances that make things so tender. And
Yeah.
what else came up, Devo?
And if it was focused just on that,
Yes.
then it would have been really easy. You just open up a book and you learn a little bit and you just do what it says and you hope that it works. But it's not just about the physical act itself. It's the dynamic between a husband and a wife that takes nurturing and watering in order to flourish and in order to grow and in order to blossom into a strong unit. And I think that is something that I'd like to focus on. We would like to focus on today, is the importance of the unit.
So let me put the chapter heading right here. This is going to be our principle number 1. Because as Devora mentioned, I highlighted some of the physical questions. The deeper pain, those questions need to be addressed.
Absolutely.
The deeper is the distance, the distance between each other, the hurt, the expectations, the disappointment. That's where it really gets tender. So the first principle we're going to offer you is called the principle of the unit. Okay, let's bring up the picture, Jewish Workshops, and then Devora, you could head in.
Sure. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up right now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just a simple little image.
Simple image, most of you have seen many, many times over. And you've seen it in terms of business, in terms of relationships, in terms of personal growth, in terms of parenting, in terms of everything. But what does it really mean? And we're going to focus on it now in terms of the unit as a couple and intimacy specifically. Okay? Obviously, each one of these circles represents either our husbands or ourselves, us women. And the middle part where we overlap is the unit. Thank you, Jewish Workshops.
My pleasure.
Is the unit. And so in order for a unit to be able to function as a unit, as a safe space, as a place that's safe and secure and trusting and loving to grow, you need to have two distinctly separate circles, two distinctly separate personalities, a male and a female with their strong male and female traits added in and their own personalities, which ties in, of course, to their own upbringings and their own beliefs, both about themselves and what a relationship looks like. Now, most of us did not date for years and years and years and years and get to know each other so well that we almost resemble each other in the same color in our beliefs and understandings. Many of us came into marriage and didn't know each other very well. And we didn't even realize that the space between our beliefs was so enormous. And so that space, when we come together, as sacred and as holy and as hopeful as it is very small in the beginning. It's a very small space. It's nowhere near as big as this. It's still its own separate, beautiful unit, but that's not how we start out. We start out with a very, very small space. And we're going to talk about this more in the class, but I want to give the basic principles now. And the basic principles tie very much into intimacy because we come into intimacy with different beliefs. We come into intimacy with all sorts of hang-ups about our body, with all sorts of understanding that we think we know what intimacy is supposed to look like because of the media. We come into intimacy as this is something for some of us we're very familiar with, and therefore it's something that we are now starting only in a sacred space. And for some of us, it's something we haven't ever touched before, and we have to get used to making ourselves available to this other person in this way, which is so foreign to us. And therefore, we understand that we come from such different experiences. I do, my sister does, you all do, you men, you women, and for sure as a couple, you come from different places and you experience it differently. And so the first important thing in this diagram of circles here is to understand that you need to be a complete circle in order to be able to give to the unit. And that's something that we are going to talk about more. We're going to flesh this out a little bit today, but mostly during our class to understand what it means. But what I want to highlight here for a moment is that this space that overlaps is not automatically even like what's inside here. Here, the circles have come together evenly. Sometimes as life hits, whether it's busy stress with business, whether it's a sensitivity that we have that affects our relationship, our personal lives, and we need a little extra at that moment, one circle will migrate over just a little bit more than the other. The other may not have as much to give at that moment. But when you look at it, the amazing thing is the size of the unit stays the same, no matter who's giving more or who's giving less at that moment. And it's very important to see that and recognize it, because whereas you're both giving all the time, life does come in, as you all know, from all the questions you have sent in. Sometimes, especially in a delicate topic like intimacy, it's not going to be even. It's not going to be the same. And yet, you need to be that entire self. You need to be able to stand in yourself in order to create that safe space and unit. Because if you are missing the ability to fill yourself and you're looking for that person to fill you, you're going to have an empty space in your circle. And what happens when you overlap? Your unit is going to have a space for an opening. It's not going to feel safe anymore. It's not going to feel like it's the two of you against the world. It's not going to feel like this secure place of bonding. It's going to feel uncertain, untrusting, and scary. And so I'd like to present to you this model for you to get an idea of the importance of the unit, because once you merge, a piece of you is always a part of the unit, always. So even though you're a separate self, you are invested and a part of you. It's like your left arm. Your left arm is now the unit. You would never do anything to hurt your left arm, not knowingly at least, right? And so you got to get to know your left arm a little bit better so that you don't do things that are going to hurt your left arm without realizing it, and still maintain your sense of self. And that is, that's a very important thing. I had questions sent in to me. I don't understand. Sometimes in your talks with you and your sister, you talk about the ability for one side to give more than the other. And if I keep giving and giving, things will change. It only takes one partner to change and the whole dance changes. Well, that person tells me it doesn't work. That person said it's not working. Why? And my answer to that person is, you need to be a whole self first. And we're going to talk about how you maintain a whole self, how you set boundaries, how you give into the unit with your whole heart and whole self and still maintain a separate self. And that's something that we are going to talk about, because that's the crux of intimacy. When you're still a whole self, you have the opening to discuss intimacy without feeling like you're going to insult the other person, without feeling like you don't have a voice, without feeling like what you think doesn't count, because that's a safe, sacred space just for the two of you. But you need to be whole to accomplish it. And we're going to talk a lot about that during our course.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I want to read for a second. So take a look at the circles. There's a blue circle and an orange circle. We're going to call the blue the mister and the orange the missus. And the space in between is the space of the unit. So the first thing that Devora highlighted is that there is the space called the unit. It grows. It starts out very small. The places where you really, really, truly overlap, it starts out small. So if you're early on in your marriage, just know that you're still very much your own self with your own cultural upbringing, your own emotional world. There's not tons of you that is merged yet. And then with time, God willing, it expands into a bigger space. And that is the goal, to have more and more space. That's one of the goals, more and more space that is shared, that is the we. The second thing that Devora highlighted is that in order for there to be a really healthy unit, there has to be a self. Now, this is a very familiar topic for me. I got married at 17, which means I just like, what does a 17-year-old know? I knew actually how to be a good wife. So I knew how to like melt into a unit, but there was many times where I lost myself. And the downfall of not being a self is actually that we end up putting lots of expectations on our spouse to fill us in certain ways, make us feel certain ways, and have a lot of disappointments. It takes maturity to know that there is a self, an independent core self, and it takes specific actions of self-nurturing and boundaries, as we'll speak about, to maintain the integrity of the self. And then that self gets to contribute to the unit. So these are like two complementary principles: giving to the unit, holding on to the self. And then her final beautiful point is that be aware that a unit is not necessarily a 50-50. Life is very dynamic. And there will be times when you're just able to give more. There'll be times when she's able to give more, he's able to give more. And that's normal. When you hold yourself, you don't have to become a big blamer and feel like something is terribly, horribly wrong, right? So that is the next thing that I want to point out. And we have a little mantra that goes along with this. This is how it goes. There's a me and there's a we, and there needs to be a me in order to have a we. Okay.
If you say that again.
There's a me and there's a we is the first part of the principle. Recognizing you're not just like seeking to be swallowed up, right? There's a me and there's a we. And the second part of the principle, there needs to be a me in order to have a we. So I want you guys, and otherwise it puts too much strain on the unit. I think that we would like you guys to just take a moment in the chat box. We can't see your names. This is very anonymous, but this is very important part of the learning process. I'd like you to take everything that Devora taught and shared and write down a sentence that will help you to solidify the learning. Like, what did you get out of it? It could be something that she said. It could be something about your own marriage, like where it's directing you to look at. What is this reminding you of? And when you're doing this, when you're writing this down, you're really writing this down for yourself. I'm telling you, we are both educators. Like, whatever you capture is going to be yours. So write it down in the chat box, please. If you don't feel comfortable to write it down in the chat box, write it on your phone. But hold on to something like, where's this relevant in your life? Okay, we're just going to wait a minute in the chat box. See what comes up with the brilliant people on our call.
Okay, we've got some answers coming in. I can't seek to him to fill my own gaps. I need to take care of myself in order to give more. I need to focus on being a unit with my husband. I don't feel worth it or deserving. If I am feeling in a good place, everything else falls into place. Feeling like I don't have a voice. There needs to be a me in order to have a we. To work more on developing the me. It's okay to have a me. If I erase myself, I'm not a blessing to the unit. If there's too much me, then there's not enough, or it's hard to make a we. Be understanding when you feel like you are giving more. I have my own unique identity, as does my husband. Together we are awesome as we work towards a common goal. When I'm feeling good about myself, I will be more unit-oriented. I need to have self-care in order to give. I'm recently retired and have gone from businesswoman to caregiver. I don't know the me anymore. It's not fair if I'm giving more. How to have me inside a marriage in sync with me in the wide world. 23 years later, the unit has shrunk. It's not realistic to expect my husband to meet 100% of all my needs all the time. Sometimes I need to rely on myself or turn to friends or other family members. It all starts with me. When I self-nurture, I can become a we. My spouse and I have a codependent relationship. We merge too much into we. I can learn more about intimacy to know how to make our relationship better.
Amazing.
Yeah, we've got some really amazing responses here. So really, kol hakavod to everybody who's writing.
Yeah.
You're really putting your heart into it. You know, there's two things that I hear, a few things that I hear from here, and I'm sure Rivka Malka heard more. Because like in every situation, including a marriage situation, how we hear is through our filter. And so some of the things I've heard, in addition to you really understanding this concept and wanting to hear more and fitting into your life, is the recognition that just like I'm a whole me, my husband is a whole me, or my wife is a whole me, which means that as two completely separate units, not only do we need to care and appreciate ourselves, but give our spouse a chance to self-care and become their whole self, in addition to appreciating them as a different and separate being from us. So that jumped out at me and I loved it. Thank you. And the second thing I wanted to add in, and I'm sure Rivka Malka has more to add in, also the second thing I wanted to add in is, as Rivka Malka was saying, you know, being married young, she was losing herself. So often we try so hard to be such a good spouse that we do lose ourselves. But there is a flip side to that. The flip side of the expectations of us is the expectations of our spouse. And sometimes the expectations are so hard that we're the ones who are punching holes in this circle of our spouse. We're the ones who are actually damaging the self by these expectations instead of this acceptance and this open heart to see and learn about through a lifetime who they really are. Every once in a while, my husband will look at something I did and he'll go, and my husband's Persian. So a lot of what I do is like, oh my goodness, what do I do with her? But you're adorable. But what do I do with you? And how am I going to deal with this? The back and forth all the time, right? Because we're so, so different. To be able to see your spouse in that way, that didn't take us one day. That didn't take us 1 year. First, it was the expectations and all the things I couldn't meet and all the things he couldn't meet, coming from different cultures, being married young, him having been independent on his own for so many years. Me thinking, I saw my parents, I know exactly what marriage is supposed to look like. And him thinking, I saw my parents, I know exactly what it's supposed to look like. And some people say they saw their parents and they know exactly what it's not supposed to look like, right? And how do we get there? Placing those expectations on each other and on ourselves both are counterproductive. Every day at night, you lay in bed and you give yourself a pat on the back for all the things you did right. All the things you stretched yourself just a little to be understanding. And even if they didn't work out right, even if they weren't noticed, even if they weren't appreciated, you noticed them and you appreciated them. Nurture that sense of yourself in the relationship, because that will bring to closer intimacy. Because when you're beating yourself up, there's no space for an open heart for intimacy. And then when your spouse looks at you and starts initiating, for example, you're feeling so badly about you or so unworthy or so defensive that you can't even give the right response back. And right there starts a negative cycle of intimacy.
Wait, I have to pause you here because we have to go to principle number 2.
Yes, let's go.
The topic of the me and the we, by the way, I'm zipping my lips because it's
Forever. We could go on and on.
Totally. Okay, principle number 2, please pardon me for interrupting. We're just hopping along over here. Principle number 2, intimacy is the equivalent of extreme vulnerability. And we have 3 principles and 3 tips to get through. So intimacy is the equivalent of extreme vulnerability. Why do we need to know this? We look at intimacy and it seems like a very cut and dry thing. 2 people coming together, 2 bodies merging. What should be complicated about that? Well, for non-humans, animals, puppies, it's pretty easy. It just happens at a physical level. For human beings, the very act of intimacy, the whole undressedness of it is a metaphor for the undressing of your heart. All of these layers, all of these protections, suddenly you're in a space where you need something from another person. There's something that only this other person can give you. You're literally in a space of need. And we have a tendency to not want to need. We want to control. We want to not be needy. We want to be on the giving end. We want to not show just how much something means to us or just how badly we want it. And this will show up in intimacy in many areas, particularly for both men and women in the area of rejection. How easy it is to feel rejected. It just takes a look. It just takes a little something said in the wrong tone, and oh wait, he doesn't want. Oh, doesn't want. And the stories that build up from that rejection feeling, it opens up in the difficulty that it is to talk about intimacy, because by opening up the conversation of intimacy, which you must do, and we will teach you how to do. You must do, and we will teach you how to do. You're really opening yourself up in a vulnerable way, and it comes through in physical pleasure, because spouses need to be able to communicate with each other where to touch, how to touch, what feels good, and this whole that whole conversation is just a very vulnerable conversation, particularly for women, particularly for Orthodox women who have grown up out with so much modesty and very little familiarity with personal areas of their body, it's just like, it's rogue territory. How do you talk about that? What do you say? And how do you say what you want? How do you know what's normal? And then there's the vulnerability, finally, of literally not knowing what's normal, because we're in this little enclosed space of our own bedroom, really not privy to any norms, because, you know, it's meant to be something that you work out in vulnerability with your spouse. It's not meant to be something that you just, you know, read a manual about. There's a vulnerability over there because you can't get away from this. It's not something you could just, you know, you can't buy this, you can't fix it quick. It takes this constant investment. And what will you add to that, Devora?
That there is no norm.
Mm-hmm.
There is no norm. Everybody's experience is different. As varied as the people are, that's as varied as the experiences. Not only that, through time, your experiences change. And so when you talk about vulnerability, you know, you talk about sometimes bringing up something that was good till now and isn't working now, whether it's physically not working or time-wise isn't working, or you have a new situation. How do we work about our kids? Our kids are a little bit older now. They're up later. How do we make time for each other? Or something was working for me up until now. Maybe I just had a baby and I'm more sensitive because I'm nursing. How do I tell my spouse about that? Maybe a man is very stressed and is having, you know, physically a hard time performing. How does he cover for that? Allow himself to be vulnerable enough to know that he's loved and accepted, and discuss what can he do to de-stress in order to be able to be together with his wife. There's so many things that come up, and without that vulnerability, can't happen.
Yeah. And I think why we chose to make this our second principle is because we wanted to offer you an idea. And the idea is to not resist the vulnerability. It's like vulnerability creates a space that the other person can meet with you. It's actually dipping into that white space of the unit. It's not the place where you hold yourself strong. So if you're feeling some of our skeptics, our apprehensive ones, or anyone really who's on here, know that this softness and this ache in your heart and this yearning, it's a beautiful thing. It allows you to emerge. It's not something you have to like cry about.
And I'll tell you, and I'm sure Rivka Malka is the same thing from working with many clients over the years. So many people say, my wife will never listen. They don't give me the space. My husband isn't going to listen. He's the one who feels like he makes the calls. Try it. You'd be surprised as you allow yourself to fall into that vulnerable space, which of course, and we'll have to talk a little bit more about that, comes only from a place of trust. Still, I think we underestimate our spouses. And it's the most important part of intimacy is vulnerability. The actual act itself is all about beauty and vulnerability. It is one of the very first acts created and one of the very first commandments given, the puravu part, the multiply part. But that means that the action itself was one of the first things that was sanctioned by Hashem as something so beautiful and so holy and so necessary, a coming together of two people in such a beautiful, vulnerable way, to be able to talk about it and about the things that are on your heart, to make it better, to make it more connecting, to make it more stronger, takes allowing for that vulnerability. Don't resist it.
Very beautifully said. Principle number 3, giving and receiving, softening into our roles. So, let's open this. Okay, everything in life is a unit, right? Everything in life has a yin and a yang, a giving and a receiving. Magnets, it's two complementary pieces coming together. Everything has a male and female, even a plug and an outlet. That's just how the world is structured. And inside the soul and psyche of a man and a woman is also a structure. And this structure is called the giver and the receiver. Now, obviously, let's be clear, in every male there are female parts. In every female, there are male parts. So none of this is exclusive. This is just giving you a principle, okay? And what we want to offer you today is this. Every gender does best when they are most actualized within their given gift. The given gift of a man is to be a bestower. The given gift of a woman is to be a receiver. What does that mean? We live in a time when men and women can physically do many of the same things. So the giving and receiving can become very confusing. Sometimes it can look like it's a giving. I give to him, he gives to me. And on one level, in a relationship, as we give to the unit, that's true. But what we run into is that we're going to focus on women for a minute. There can be a great sense of independence. Do I really need him? Do I, can't I do these things by myself? Is it worth making myself vulnerable to be hurt by him? I feel defensive when he gives to me. I feel like I'm not enough. Or just really like standing in the giver mode, in the codependent mode, as one of our listeners mentioned, where I'm the caretaker, I'm doing everything, I'm looking out for him, I see the little boy in him, and I just want to nurture him, and I just want to give to him. And all of this kind of behavior actually negates our innermost longing. The woman's innermost longing is not to be the big giver, it's actually to be cherished, to be nurtured, to be seen as beautiful, to be held. And these things don't just happen. He has to allow for them to happen. And the reason why we focus on the woman more is because imagine that a man is a bestower. That's his gift. And I'm going to pass the mic to Devora to talk about that in a moment. Well, if he's bestowing, if it's like a machine, I think of it like a machine that's producing, I don't know, potato chips. Went to the Harris potato chips factory, right? So there's this machine, it's producing potato chips, and at the bottom are the bags. And it was so interesting to watch these beautiful chips fall into the bags. If there would be no bags, there would be no production. The whole production would shut down because there's no point. All the potato chips are going to go on the floor. And that's why we start in this principle by being a giver and a receiver by focusing on the woman, because a woman can learn to soften herself to truly receive from her husband. And we will go more deeply into this. I'm very, very conscious of the time today, but we are going to go more into this, into the psychological aspects of what it looks like to soften into a receiver in an age of an empowered woman. And maybe if your husband isn't doing so well, and what can you receive, and all the different types of things like that. But for today, we're just going to start this principle by saying, see if you can access the part of you that is tired of standing as the tough one or as the nurturer and the giver. See if you can access the part of you that can be ready to relax and not be the caretaker, the one in charge. Just access that inside of you. It has nothing to do with what anyone gives you, by the way. It's a part of yourself that you can reclaim that you might not even be aware of. Now, Devora, can you talk about the second part of the principle, the male?
I can, most definitely. And I want to add on just to what you were saying, which kind of ties the two together. And that is that our bedroom life, our intimacy doesn't begin in the bedroom. It has to start throughout your day. It has to start in how you're looking at yourself, how you're allowing yourself to be the receiver, to be the giver, and most often, how you're perceiving that your spouse is giving or receiving. And so that's something that takes preparation and time and noticing and valuing. And with that, we'll go into what is a man. A man is a giver. By nature, what they most want to do, even more feminine men still want to be your hero. They still want to be the one who you will look up to as, I know he's going to slay the dragon for me. I know he's going to take care of me. I know he's doing these things for me. We find that most men, their love language is acts of service. And that's because they know, they give, they do. So often, either we take it for granted, or we don't see it as love because we need those words. We need that recognition. We need to be told that we're pretty. But our men are doing for us, and they need to be acknowledged, and they need to be recognized. And we need to make it our job to feed into that receiving that of what our man is giving us, because the giving is his greatest pleasure. And in intimacy, in our bedroom life, both before sex and after sex, and by the way, intimacy and sex are two completely different things, and we're going to talk about that. They may seem like they're connected, and in a physical way they are, but they're so different. And we are going to be talking in this course about both, because both are a necessary part. And yet in that, a man Kabbalistically is the giver and we are the receiver. Physically, he is the giver and we are the receiver. And emotionally, he is the giver and we are the receiver. And that's something that's such a massive topic. And yes, we both have male and feminine parts inside of us, but it's important to realize that this spans your relationship. And this is what builds the intimate foundation, this recognition of what the other person's almost like role is in our relationship. I hesitate to use the word role because I don't want it to be misconstrued. It's not my husband needs to be doing everything for us and I need to be taking. Awesome. No, that's not what we're talking about. Much more, we're talking about understanding the innate way Hashem made us to give and to receive and to acknowledge that part, to acknowledge that it's not flaky or petty for your wife to be told she's pretty, that she looks beautiful, for your wife to be held when she's crying. None of that is flaky or petty, that she has that need. Just like for a man's sense of acknowledgement for what he does is not flaky or petty either. It's an innate part of who he is and it needs to be recognized. That is part of what builds the unit. And we're going to talk much more about that because when we get that straight, that's like intimacy 101. You get that part straight, you're open to vulnerability. Once you're open to that vulnerability, out comes this potential for discussion and making your physical and emotional intimate life the strongest that it can possibly be.
Yeah. There can be some confusion when we talk about the receiver and the giver. We've had this experience before because women are givers and nurturers. So just hold tight with us and try and listen to everything that Devora said on a kind of softer heart level. I have to tell you that in my marriage, I worked for, I would say, it took me a full year. There was like a moment of letting go of codependence, and then I would say took me a full year to learn how to become a receiver. Like it was a practice. It was very, very interesting, and we're going to have a lot to share with you about that. But one of the analogies that I want to give you is with God, with Hashem, because when we feel like we are the giver, then life can be very, very hard. When we say we're the giver and Hashem's the receiver, God's the receiver, life can be very hard. I'm doing this for you, God. Didn't I do enough? What else do you want from me? Okay, I'm going to be a better Jew. I'm going to be a better person. And it's like this kind of a battle, and it doesn't feel good on the inside. It feels like a stream. And what Hashem really wants for us is to just love him, to do the best that we can, and to receive his gift. Look up and to say thank you, and thank you for this, and thank you for that, and thank you for that, and not to feel like we're in control of our life or of being perfect or anything. So like one of the ways that I worked on this was actually I began with God to like soften into, I just want to like have a different relationship with you. I want to soften to receive, that I don't control my whole life, that I'm not in charge. And this was just another way of understanding it, like an exercise that hopefully can help you to like soften the idea of receiving more, which like the word said is seminal, so huge we can't even cover it fully now. We're going into our tips, Devora. You ready?
We're going into our tips. Can I add one more thing first anyway?
Oh, I felt the temptation. I felt it.
Okay,
Go.
I know we're running short on time. I just want to add that we all have this work to do. I, for sure, Rivka Malka had her softening work, and I had what I called my martyr work. There's nothing like a mommy because we're made nurturing and we're made loving and we want to give. And that kind of giving is our feminine side. When we know that we need more, And when we know that it's time to communicate that we need more is when we start feeling like a martyr. Like, oh, I do all this. I'm amazing. I'm just, nobody's even recognizing this. This is just like, oh my goodness, like bow and kiss my toes, you know? Then we know that we've kind of stepped over the bounds. So for me, definitely relating to it as we relate to Hashem was strong, but also really being in touch with my emotions, as long as they're coming from this pure maternal or even paternal place. Like I know with my husband, there's a certain amount that he gives and gives and gives, and we laugh. He gives and gives, and all of a sudden he's like on the phone with us, and he's listening and listening, and then he's like, okay, bye. We're like, huh? What just happened? He was just in the middle of being this amazing father or being this amazing husband, and like, he's done. Okay, bye.
Yeah.
Where'd that go? But that's his recognizing his martyr. Okay, like I've done what I need to do, and I need to move on into something else new right now. I'm ready for the next step. So you can use that maybe together in conjunction with this softening and understanding in relationship with Hashem, to just kind of be in touch with where those boundaries are, and hope that at that point will give you the tools that you can reach out to your spouse and let them know you're done. Bye.
Yeah.
Your turn.
Yeah,
This is what I need.
so cool that you're saying this, because I find, I mean, we teach this in our Shalom Bayis class, but I'll just say it really quickly here. There are two types of dysfunctions. There's the one that is like a blamer, an accuser. You're not enough, right? You're not satisfying me, you're not making me happy. That was me. And by the way, let's just say I have, like, honestly, the world's best husband in the world. That's why I could say this stuff, you know, I really, really do. And we have a beautiful marriage, but the growth along the way, I know that that's my default brain is a blamer. And then even, I don't necessarily say it, you know, I'm a nice guy, but right, the accusatory towards the other. And then you have the other half of the population, the Devora half of the population, which is accusatory towards themselves. Oh, he's amazing, he's here, but I'm not enough. Right, I should do more, right? So I need you guys to check in with us in the chat box. Which one are you? What's your default? Are you the Miss Martyr? Do you just like push yourself beyond and have like you're not so nice to yourself in your brain, or are you not so nice to the other guy in your brain, or to the other woman? Let's hear from you for a minute.
I hate receiving. I'm both. I'm definitely both. I'm not so nice to myself. I'm a blamer for sure. I sometimes have both mindsets. I think I'm both. Can you be both?
Yeah, you could be both, because it's like you're blaming the other guy, but you're so unhappy, so then you blame yourself too. Really, you know.
Well, you blame yourself for blaming the other.
Yeah.
Because how can I be so not nice that I'm blaming the other? Or it's really their fault, and why are you making me feel bad about myself?
The blaming it's hilarious because it's so miserable. Don't worry, we're not gonna end miserable. I love our audience, by the way. Audience, we love you. Thank you for being
fabulous audience.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have time for any tips, or are we at the 1 o'clock mark? What are we?
We're at the 1 o'clock.
Sorry, we're at the 1 o'clock mark, but we can take a couple minutes just to give those tips that you want.
Yeah, you want to do it?
No, go ahead.
Okay, let's do it. Tip number 1 is called the slow burn. Slow burn. Quick visual for you. Once upon a time, I had the opportunity to see a kissing expert. I did. She was on stage, and she was going to teach people how to kiss. And she called up 2 people from the audience. And the very interesting part about this was this. It was like a little bit tense in the audience. What was going to happen? This is like interesting. And these are 2 strangers. And part of me, this was, you know, obviously not a Jewish setup, and it was something online. But anyway, what was very interesting was that they were like, okay, should we do it? And she was like, no, don't do anything. I want you to just breathe. So they stood there together and they breathed, just breathe. And then after a little while of breathing, she says, okay, I want you to make eye contact. Now they're making eye contact. This thing took forever. And while they're making eye contact and just breathing, like the tension in the room was crazy. And then slowly she says, okay, now put your hand on her back. I mean, nothing happened. No kissing happened at all. And it's just like, oh my gosh, the people's minds are being blown. They're like squirming in their seats. Nothing happened. This is called the slow burn. And this is your intimacy tip for today. Intimacy does not start when you are in a bedroom in your pajamas. No. We need to approach it with a slow burn, and we're going to give you a few practical examples that go from just the super practical to the I guess super sexual on that end of the spectrum, but all of it is part of the slow burn. Give us some quick examples, Devora.
Quick example, plan it. If you have a really busy life, you have a stressful life, you have a special needs child, you've got a million kids, it's just the two of you and you're used to being on your own and you really have your day full, make time for each other by planning. It sounds like it takes away the spontaneity of it, but it gives it quality. Yes, it takes away the spontaneity of it, but it does make the time its highest quality. Tip number one. Tip number two, do something to prepare for it, whether it's doing the dishes for your spouse so that she doesn't have to think about what's still going on downstairs, whether it's muting your phone so that there isn't a chance for those dings. Make me crazy just when I'm getting started, and then all of a sudden I hear a ding on my phone. I'm like, I forgot to turn off my phone. No, you don't want anybody else to be part of your intimacy. There's no intimacy for three, and that phone represents another person. Turn off your phone, or at least mute it, silence it, so that it's just the two of you. There's nothing else going on. When your husband or wife is still getting ready for the end of the evening downstairs, if you feel better and more approachable, when you smell good, when you're soft, when you're fresh, when you're shaved, so much of the time we're just not in a place to be with our spouse because we don't feel good about ourselves. And I'm not talking body image here. I'm talking about easy fixes. Easy fixes. I didn't have a chance to shave before. I usually shower every morning. I didn't have a chance to shower this morning or tonight. Go on upstairs, shower ahead, get on your lotion, make yourself feel sexy. Do whatever it takes, put on whatever lingerie, make the bed, put on the candles, whatever it is to set the tone so that you yourself are open and ready to open your heart. Practical tip. Rivka, Malka.
Very good. I love it all. It's very good. And if you're in a place where you already know about like getting ready, two things. First of all, the idea of planning. Think of it like the slow burn from now on. This was a mind shift for me. It's not technical, it's exciting. And you can send your spouse little texts throughout the day, getting them even more excited. You can ask them to choose from one of their 3 favorite activities. You can, this is your spouse. This is who you're meant to play with. So play with a slow burn of it. Okay.
When you're talking about planning, there are other ways to plan too. You can make an IOU box. And if you know that it's a planned time, they can pull out something from the IOU box and you can prepare this thing special. There's so many different creative ways that you can do it. Have things prepared,
We have our classes. We have a whole list of it's like the creative class. We're going to get to that.
We're going to,
I don't know if we could do it right here. Okay, let's do tip number 2. Tip number 2. Both speech and action are critical to a relationship. We alluded to this before. And even though it would be much more at this point, we're like all a little bit giddy because we're running out of time, like much more interesting to give you more physical tips. I want to tell you this because it is a game changer. And it goes like this. Say it super quickly. Women were given 9/10 of speech. That's what the Talmud says. That means that our gift is speech. What we long for are words that make us feel beautiful, special, held, seen, noticed, appreciated. We long to be told all these things. Men were made from Adama, from earth. They're practical. They are built from action. And so the way that love translates to men and women is very different. A woman is oftentimes craving to hear certain words of endearment. And for me, I know constant words of endearment is what I'm really craving, right? Like, it's never too much. You can always tell me I'm like, the most important to you in the world. But for a man, he literally has very little access to that. What he's doing is he is busy loving through action, whether it's with a job or taking care of things around the house or making a phone call or being involved in the community. Whatever it is, his life is devoted towards his family. So women can have this dissatisfaction. The dissatisfaction is he never tells me X, Y, Z. He doesn't tell me that I'm sexy. He doesn't say this about me, right? I don't feel special, and she's waiting for these words. So the tip for men is, guess what? Dig a little bit deeper and use your words. Know that you are the bestower, the giver. Your words have major impact. My son's getting married. We all just came back yesterday with our gowns, and I was like praying that my husband would say the right words, and I told him afterwards, I was like, you have a hard job. You got to make 4 women feel beautiful, like all his daughters. Say the exact right thing, because there's like standing up. If you say, that's it. They don't feel it anymore. So dig deeper and feel empowered that your words have tremendous impact. And one of the things that you can do is you can ask your spouse, what are the words that you most want to hear? And that's a very fun conversation both ways. And you can give them to her. And now on the male side, I'm going to throw that to you, Devora, because I need to take a breath.
On the male side, women realize that your husband needs this acknowledgement as much as you need these words. He needs you to recognize that even if he's not coming and telling you, I was working hard really all day and I'm stressed because I'm focused on providing for my family, he still needs you to recognize. And he needs you to be able to see that what he's doing is not just because he's trying to make $1 million or $10 million, just because making a lot of money gives him prestige. No, he's really doing this for you. So often women work rarely for fulfillment, but sometimes for fulfillment, definitely sometimes for fulfillment, but rarely to provide for a family. They need to fill in where a man hasn't been able to sometimes because tuition costs and stuff are so big, but their heart isn't in the giving part. A man will go to work and everything he's doing is from the giving mode, from the loving mode, from the actions. I know my husband, he knows I love strawberry flavored things, and he started buying these strawberries. Thank you, honey. Thank you so much. I don't like strawberries. I like artificial strawberry flavor. Don't like strawberries so much. His favorite thing to do is to, when he's not coming home, to buy me strawberries. The appreciation that I have for that is way beyond whether I like strawberries or not. It's the recognition that he's thinking and doing and bestowing. He is the giver, and my receiving gives him pleasure. And my acknowledging that he's doing it specifically for me gives him that pleasure. So women, my tip to you would be acknowledge, keep your eyes open, notice the little details, because in his mind, they are not little details. They're signs of love. They're acts of love. They're acts of cherishing. They're acts of kindness, even if you can't always find the right words. And tip number 2 that goes along with that is, because we're so sensitive to words and because we're so sensitive to a look, and we make it mean something that it usually doesn't, ask your husband what it means. Ask him to talk about it a little more. Don't make him the bad guy because he doesn't quite yet know what to give you. He's trying. Acknowledge the trying.
Beautiful.
And clarify if you feel like it's throwing you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. One time you used this word, relevant. A man wants to be relevant. And it was such a powerful word. We'll talk about it more. I know we're saying that about a lot of things, but in a woman recognizing her man, it took me so long to learn this. Like, it doesn't have to take you guys so long to really understand that in the psyche of a man, it is all for you. I'm just underlining what you said. I'm not adding anything to it, but he looks like he's just doing life, but in his mind, he's carrying you and the family. So the more you can acknowledge that, the better. Like, I could tell you honestly, in my marriage, I acknowledge my husband probably once an hour. I'm not joking. I feel moved to. I see he's working on paperwork, he's working on bills, he made that call, he's helping. Like, I feel moved to, and the more that I receive, my acknowledgement is the receiving, the more he does. It's like amazing. So, and in my blaming space, I wasn't able to do that. I was only able to see what I was doing. Okay, moving on.
And
Uh-oh.
I know we're moving on, but I just want to say, Rivka, Malka, you keep saying it took me time, it took me time. Guys, ladies, it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. Yeah. It doesn't happen overnight. We all struggle through, we all work through. When you have a picture of what it can look like, it gives you a goal of what to work towards. And hopefully we can give you the tools to accomplish that.
Brings us into tip number three. Tip number three is called dream big. Okay? Dream big. You were never meant to be miserable. You were never meant to feel alone in a marriage. You were never meant to feel sad and hopeless. That's just the piece of the journey you might be on right now. But we want to invite you to dream really big, that you can have a type of connection that really fills you, and a healing in your bedroom life, and an openness that far surpasses anything you thought you can have. We've seen it ourselves with, thank God, people who we've helped, and we've seen it in our own lives. Otherwise, we wouldn't be teaching this. You don't teach what you didn't need to learn, okay, my friends? This is Real Life 101, and I think it is wonderful that both Devora and I are very, very happy, or we would have nothing to share with you. You know, so I want you to dream big, to take a moment to write down for yourself. If you want, you can write it in the chat box, but this is really a private thing between you and yourself. What's your deepest dream for your marriage? What do you want it to look like? Take a sentence, create a yearning, because we can spend a lot of our time in negative space. What isn't working? We want to start moving towards what we're creating.
And we would love it if you shared it with us, and we can use that as our goals for you, so you can say by the end, tick, got that, got this big, beautiful life.
Would you want them to share it in the chat box or by email?
Sure. No, in the chat box.
Yeah, okay.
It looks like it'll just take a couple minutes here while people are writing. Okay.
Good. Well, you know what? I'm so glad to hear your voice, because I know we went a little bit over time, but this idea of dream big is really why we're making this course. We want people to come to our course. Like, I don't know anyone in the world who likes sales. Sales is like slimy, but it's like, this is beyond a sale. This is like, do you understand that in 2 months' time, your whole marriage could look different? You can dream big and you can have it. It does get better. It really gets better. So, yeah, I think that we gave you the information about our course. If you could share it with people, I would love that.
Absolutely. And I see people are also getting ready. They have some things to do. So let me give you the information to join now so that you don't miss out on that. And people are asking also when their questions get answered. We are going to take some questions now as well. So let me tell you about the course, give an opportunity for everybody to join before all of the slots get taken. And then we will get to as many questions as possible right here live on the line. So we are inviting you to join the next 8 weeks, which will be live and interactive. And I am going to show you exactly what those are going to look like. Week 1, which starts already next Wednesday, is the beauty of intimacy. Uncover the depth and beauty of establishing an emotional connection and creating a safe haven of love and acceptance to eradicate feelings of resentment and insecurity. Then week 2, the law of attraction. Learn to feel good about yourself so you can be attractive to your partner and attracted to your partner. Followed by mismatched libido. When your spouse's physical needs, desires, and expectations vary significantly from your own, it can easily cause confusion, stress, and disappointment. Discover how to remedy this obstacle and better understand how to meet each other's needs. Then we're going to move on to the keys to effective communication. Avoid conflict and awkwardness by learning new ways to communicate what feels good, when you're in the mood, and how to handle rejection when you or your spouse isn't in the mood. Week 5 is prioritizing intimacy. Work, kids, community commitments, stress can all pile up and take over your days, leaving little to no time for intimate moments with your partner. Get the tools you need to make time for your spouse in and out of the bedroom. Then we're going to follow that up with keeping it exciting. Bring back the passion to your marriage by learning new ways to find fulfillment and pleasure in your physical relationship. And finally, the top 10 questions you've always wanted answered. Get the answers to the top 10 questions about intimacy, and through real-life examples, discover how to deepen your connection and rekindle the spark. And the last and final week is going to be a live Q&A where you can gain solutions to your personal questions through a live Q&A and implementation session. Each class, as you can see, will take place on Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Israel time. But don't worry, if you can't make it to a live class, you'll always have full access to each week's recordings to listen to or download at your convenience. Plus, it is Rivka, Malka, and Devora's mission to give you an experience unlike any other. Their level of depth and care creates a completely different process than you've ever tried before. Unlike a book or class that you can watch on YouTube, Rivka, Malka, and Devora will get to know you throughout the next 8 weeks, as they mentioned earlier, and will take personal care to answer any questions you may have and guide you to the fulfilling marriage that you deserve. So in addition to the 8 weeks of live sessions, you'll also get a one-on-one phone consultation. You'll have a 20-minute personal phone consultation with intimacy counselor Devora to get the guidance you deserve on this sensitive and personal journey. Plus, ask the expert. Get 8 weeks of personal ongoing support throughout the program and answers to your personal questions through unlimited email access. And let Rivka, Malka, and Devora guide you hand in hand throughout the process. So while you're listening to the classes, whether you're able to join live or you're listening to the recording afterwards, and a question pops up in your mind or a situation happens throughout the week and you just don't want to wait till the next class starts, you can go ahead and email Rivka, Malka, and Devora directly with your personal question so that you can, again, continue to grow throughout this journey. You should never feel like you're being left alone. You should never feel like all of the work is on you. This is a process, as they mentioned, and it's a supportive process. So they are here for you throughout the way. And finally, a bonus class, talking to your kids about intimacy and sexuality. Learn the value of allowing for safe and healthy communication between parents and children surrounding body image, sexuality, and intimacy, so you will be able to develop the language to engage with your children surrounding these important topics. So as you can see, Rivka, Malka, and Devora will be walking you through all aspects of creating and nurturing a healthy and happy relationship with your spouse. You'll have one-on-one support throughout the program, and will have the unique opportunity to get your personal questions answered that you haven't been able to get answered previously. Most importantly, by investing in yourself and your marriage now, you'll discover how to reconnect with your spouse, rekindle your marriage, and create a safe haven so you can be vulnerable with each other without feeling judged. You'll be able to establish open lines of communication to ensure that your needs and your spouse's needs are being fulfilled with love and understanding. Finally, let go of the feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt so you can attract and be attracted to your spouse by accepting the beauty and uniqueness of your body. Overcome emotional, physical, and sexual intimacy issues like feelings of resentment, mismatched desire, and dealing with rejection. Protect the sanctity of your marriage by nurturing trust and respect, and never feel lonely, unloved, or unsatisfied again. And finally, prioritize the intimate time you spend together to enhance your connection and have a satisfying relationship. An opportunity like this rarely comes along, where you get a full series plus personalized email support, one-on-one phone session to ensure that you receive the full guidance you deserve. But we listened to our members' requests and brought back Rivka, Malka, and Devora just for you so that you would have this opportunity where we've created an anonymous place for you to come by yourself or as a couple to get the answers you've been looking for to refresh and renew your relationship. So today, we're opening up this opportunity one more time and giving you a special discounted rate just for being on the line today. Plus, to make it more accessible, we will also have payment plan options available when you register. So today you can become a basic member and get the full 8-part series for just $297, or you can become a platinum member and get the full 8-part series plus the one-on-one phone consultation, the email support, and the bonus class, all for just $397. But before I share the link, I just have one more exciting surprise for you. One of our members sent us an email a couple of months ago with a fabulous request. She said she loves coming to the introductory classes and wishes she could buy every series, but she's had to limit her purchases and only choose a few due to financial restraints. So she asked if it was possible for us to hold a raffle for one lucky buyer to get their spot for free. And I thought that was a great idea. So we've decided to adopt this fantastic idea. And as an extra bonus, just for joining live right now, anyone who buys while we're still on the line for the next 45 minutes will get entered into a raffle to win their spot for free. So as soon as you register, your name will automatically be entered into the raffle, and the winner that we will pick tomorrow will get their payment refunded. So make sure that when you go right now to join, that you come back and just let me know that you are in. I'd really love to be able to welcome you. And remember that when you join right now, you'll get automatically put into that raffle. So keep an eye out on your email inbox tomorrow, where we will send the winner a very lucky and exciting email to congratulate them. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the link right now. I don't want you to miss out on that opportunity. And I'll also put it right here on the screen. It's www.jewishworkshops.com/intimate. I put it right there in your chat box. You can actually copy and paste it into a different browser, so you'll still stay on the line with us. You can listen to the questions being asked and answered, but you can grab your spot right away and get entered into our raffle. And then again, as I mentioned, please just come on back and let us know when you're in. So you can put your first name and the words "I'm in," or you can put your initials and the words "I'm in." And I would love to be able to welcome you and keep track of how many new people have joined in. I also just want to let you know that if you're having any difficulties registering, if for some reason you can't get into the page, oftentimes there are internet filter issues when there are sensitive subjects like this one. If there are any problems that you're having registering, please come back right away and just put your name and your telephone number in so that we can go ahead and give you a call to help you register over the phone. Again, while we're here for the next 40 minutes or so, you'll be entered into the raffle. But if you wait a little bit longer, of course, you'll still get your spot. Hopefully, we won't fill up that quickly. But if you join now, then you'll get to go ahead into the raffle. If not, please God, we should still have a spot for you and you'll still be able to get in. But if there's any problems and you want to grab your spot now, just please come back and put your telephone number in so we can give you a call. We've got Hannah here on the line with us. Adina will be here later. So we've got plenty of people here to help. And we're going to go ahead and get to some questions right now. Oh my goodness. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything while I'm talking. I will repeat that one more time. I do tend to talk a little quickly when I get really excited, and I'm so excited to be offering this course again. So Laura, in answer to your question, all of the classes will be on Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Israel time. But again, as I mentioned, all of the classes will be available to you as a recording after the class is over. The very next day, you'll be able to find that in your membership area, so that you can go and listen to that. You can download it and take it on the go with you if that's easier. But we try to make it as convenient as possible so that you don't miss a thing. And then again, of course, when you become a platinum member, you'll also have direct email access to Rivka, Malka, and Devora, and you'll get that one-on-one phone consultation with Devora, just to make sure that even whether you're listening live or you're listening to recordings, your questions will always get a chance to be answered. We, again, don't want you to be floundering on your own. This is definitely a process that we are here to support you during. So I'm going to go ahead and get to some questions. And in the meantime, we have some brand new members as I keep talking. So let me go ahead and welcome, let me see, where did she go? Welcome GS. That's very exciting. Congratulations. Welcome RM. That's wonderful. And welcome, CH. Great to have all of you here with us and our brand new members. So again, just a reminder, you'll go ahead and you'll be entered automatically into our raffle. And as soon as anyone else comes back to me, I will go ahead and welcome you as well. I do see some people here putting in their phone numbers too, just to get some help. No problem. If you need help registering, come on back and let us know. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead. There was a question that actually just came in here a little bit earlier. If you still have some questions, come on back and let us know. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and take some of the questions that came in ahead of time as well. Let me see. Now I have to find it. Where did it go? Sorry about that. I'm trying to find it. I'm sorry. Rivka, Malka, or I think you were speaking about learning how to become the receiver. How do you really learn how to become the receiver when you feel so much resentment towards your husband and feel like whenever he does something, it's not for you, as you were saying, when he does these small things for you, it's that's his sign of showing love. He's not doing these things for you. He's really just doing them because he feels like that's his job, quote unquote, but you don't feel that it's out of love.
Yeah, great question. Thanks for asking. So here's the thing. I want to be happy. I really want to be happy. I want to be a happy person. I want to be happy in my marriage. And so this craving of I want to feel a certain way from him, it didn't make me happy. It was never satisfied. I'm telling you that. And world's greatest husband, never satisfied. I had to do the work of looking inside of myself and saying, what am I craving? Actually, it's very interesting for me. One of the things that I was craving, like a thirsty man in the desert, something about the words "you're beautiful." And I grew up a very plain Jane and a tomboy. I started taking care of myself later on in life, and my husband grew up without compliments. So here he is, this nicest person, and those words couldn't be said. So, and I would even discuss it with him. I would really like it when you say XYZ. It felt, the more I pressured, the more awkward it became. It really didn't work. And I was hurt from it. I was tired from it. So, you know what? I just started being beautiful. I started to take care of myself in a whole new way, to shop in a new way, to even hygiene in a new way. My hygiene is out of control. The type of hygiene that I do is with tremendous loving care to myself, tremendous loving care for the body that Hashem gave me. I literally feel like I'm a beautiful piece of Hashem. And I got what I needed. Not everything that I want is going to be from him. So once I really started to look at my inner dialogues, what's this craving? What's my gaps? How am I making him responsible for my gaps? Things started to settle down big time, because I was feeling much more fantastic. And then once I was feeling better, I started to realize I am so self-absorbed. I'm so focused on my painful places that I'm not really seeing this whole other man. I'm not really seeing him. I'm just seeing the pain places. So that's when my receiving came in. I started to it was the beginning of forced thing to thank him. And even sometimes something else would want to come out of my mouth, like a request or a criticism. And instead of that coming out of my mouth, I literally just made a new script. We're standing, for example, at the Shabbos table. I mean, nothing's happening, right? Is there anything to thank? I just said, thank you for leading the family. Or it's so nice to stand next to you. I feel so good. Or thank you for leading the children, thank you for preparing. I don't know. Thank you for going to shul. That's really nice when your husband goes to shul. Not every husband does. It's nice. So it was like a training to receive. And this is what I say to women. the trick of receiving is to receive the whole man, all of him. I love your strengths. I love your weaknesses. I love your humor. I love your bad jokes. I'm committed to receiving all of you. And the receiving from a man then has nothing to do with what you actually need, because the more you are willing to love yourself and to love the other, the happier you are, the more content you are. It turns out it's not just about him filling the blanks. But bonus, and this is the end of the answer, bonus is that when a man is received and does feel recognized, he is able to show up. And yes, even to tell me you're beautiful, he is able to show up in a different way, because he feels good, and he's really counting on his woman to make him feel good, to receive all of him. So that was my journey, and I'm sure there's more to say about that, but that's just a little piece.
Thank you so much. I'd love to be able to welcome our newest members. AK, welcome. SH, welcome. CS, welcome. RB, welcome. It is great to see all of these new people. Again, congratulations. You're entered into the raffle automatically. And again, I can see some people having a little bit of a trouble getting into the site. Sometimes it's an internet filter. Sometimes it's because so much traffic is going all at once and everybody's trying to get there at the same time. So please just come on back and put your name and telephone number. We will do our best to give you a call right after we are finished up here today, so that, stick by the phone. We'll give you a call and we will make sure to get your spot saved for you. We've got some more questions coming in. Okay. If you don't really seem to get pleasure when you're with your husband, but he wants to get the positive feedback, how can you rectify that? Also, with a baby waking up so frequently at night, there's just utter exhaustion. So when I finally get into bed, I really need to actually get some sleep. I can't always get into the mindset in order to allow myself the ability to get that pleasure.
Go ahead, Devora.
Okay. Those are two completely separate and gigantic questions, which we can't answer completely right now, but I will say that a lot of this does have to do with the preparation. When you have a baby that wakes up lots of times at night and you're exhausted and you tell me when you go to bed, all you want to do is sleep, don't go straight to bed. When you have something planned to be together, then you're not heading like a zombie into your room, pillow, I need that pillow, I need to go to sleep. Your mindset is different. Your mindset is husband, nourishment, feeling good, I need to connect. Your whole mindset when you walk into the room is different. There's no space for exhaustion. Is there physical exhaustion? Yes, but it's amazing. When your baby wakes up, you're really tired also. And yet you can pick up your body and you can go in and you can nourish your baby. And if they're sick and they wake up 6 times during the night, you find the wherewithal to do it because they depend on you. Well, your marriage depends on you making it a priority. If there's one thing you can come out of today, it's that your marriage is your most important priority in your life. When people send us the question, what comes first? I have to work. I have to be with my husband. I have to be a mother to my kids. I have to take care of the house. I have to be a community member. How do I prioritize? I will always, 100% of the time, say your husband or your wife is your first priority. Because when that's healthy, everything across the board is more accomplished and is healthier. There's more of you to go around when you're nourished and cherished and loved. So when you make that a priority, yes, you may physically be tired. And yes, maybe at that evening, you'll just need cuddling. You'll just need a massage. You'll just need to relax. You'll just need something that makes you feel cherished. And maybe something more will happen and maybe it won't. But you'll be in the mind space of connection and intimacy. And then the next time you're together, it's all that much sweeter and all that much. It's not like you're pushing it away because your mind and your heart is open for that. And this is something that we all practice all the time. Thank God we all have to fill so many roles, both as mothers and as fathers and as husbands and as wives and as community members. We have so much that we need to fill in, so many places, and we're always going to be spread too thin. Prioritize your marriage.
Great. Thank you so much. I think right here, there was kind of a follow-up question here. Is sex something that both husband and wife are supposed to be enjoying the same amount? Why do I always feel like only my husband is having the pleasure?
My turn? Yeah.
Or whoever.
Yes, absolutely. It's enjoyable for both of you, and it can be enjoyable for both of you in different ways. We know that a man has like a buildup where he needs to physically release. And when he does physically release, a great calm, a great love actually settles over him, like all is right in the world. And for a woman, it's oftentimes very much the opposite. She doesn't have the physical buildup necessarily. Sometimes, yes, but maybe she's not necessarily turned on. She just kind of is. But then as she is given to, as she is pleasured, as she is enjoying, then she's able to access a part of herself that she totally didn't even know needed accessing. She didn't even know that she needs to relax and settle in and receive a little bit and enjoy. So I don't know why you feel like your husband is getting more pleasure. It is possible that you're focused very much on his moment of climax, as if like that's sex. And that's a big, big, big mistake that we make, that a man's climaxing means that the sexual act that's where it's at. But it's not. The pleasure, even though it's slightly different for, a man and a woman in their emotional experience, is the pleasure of relaxing into each other, of being held, of being touched, physically touched, of being like in a place of being, not having to do anything, of being hugged, of connecting, of everything else falling away. This is the deepest, deepest pleasure. And then the physical pleasure is kind of like what brings it all home. That's what brings it all home. So just to end off, for a man, the physical pleasure is something that is oftentimes a given. For a woman, it is not a given. Sometimes her body won't climax, or sometimes she hasn't learned to climax, or sometimes she isn't comfortable to ask her husband to give her pleasure, so that doesn't necessarily happen. But there can be, first of all, that can be worked on. And secondly, there can be a great pleasure of just physical closeness, just skin to skin, becoming that unit together. So I think that I would ask you just a question to take home with you. Where are you holding back? Where are you holding back from asking for what you need, or from melting into this experience? Where you're kind of making it your job to give pleasure.
Thank you so much. I think that was a really nice answer. I want to go ahead and just welcome Esty, welcome AW, welcome Annie, and welcome Shirley. Great to have all of you with us. Again, I just would love to see anyone who has already registered come on back and let us know. Like I said, you can put your first name or your initials and just the words "I'm in" so that I can welcome you. And if you are continuing to have any difficulties, it does look like some of the people who couldn't get in before were able to manage it now. So if the link didn't work the first time, go back and try again. It looks like maybe it was probably the traffic just all going at the same time. Or if you need some help registering, please put your phone number so that we can give you a call. Let me go ahead and get to these other questions here. Yes, somebody asked actually about the basic membership versus the platinum membership. So in the basic membership, and let me go back there for that, you do get the full 8-week course. And they said, so you don't get the email access and you can't get your questions answered. So I just want to clarify that. In the basic membership, you'll still have the full access to the 8-week course, which is live and interactive. So you can always ask your questions right there on the line, or you can email Jewish Workshops with any questions if you're listening to the recording. For the Platinum membership, because it is taking so much additional time from Rivka, Malka, and Devora, and again, they are very, very attentive to all of our members. So it's important to us that everybody is compensated for time, energy, effort. So when you do become a Platinum member, you are given that extra benefit of the one-on-one phone consultation and the personal email access. Of course, if you are choosing to become a basic member, you will still have the opportunity to get your questions answered through those live classes and the Q&A at the very end. So don't feel like you'll be left on your own, but for Platinum members, they will get a little bit of that extra added benefit. Okay. Get to the rest. Oh, welcome, FW. Great to have you in as well. Okay. When I am doing stuff for my wife, it is not being appreciated or reciprocated. How do I communicate to my partner that I do not feel appreciated without hurting her feelings?
That's a great
really
question.
Sensitive.
That's a great question. We're so worried about hurting our spouse's feelings that we forget that all we need to do is ask for what we need in a kind and in a gentle way. And they want to make us happy. You're in it together. You chose each other to spend the rest of your life together. You spend every day, day in and day out, taking care of all the tedious details of your home, of your children, of your finances, of the shopping, there's so much that you're invested. Why not take all the effort that you've invested and get what you need out of it? All you have to do is ask, and ask with the recognition that you're asking without judgment. You're just asking for what you need. There's not the blame of, you never do this for me and I need it. It's, I need it. Would you consider doing this for me? Because this is what I need from you. From you, it's special. From anybody else, it just doesn't mean the same. And I think that the mindset that you have behind what you're asking and the way in what you ask will surprise her response, or his response will surprise you. Because really, everybody's deepest desire is to make their spouses happy, to make their units strong, and ultimately, we're happier that way too. And so it's a cycle of pleasure, but it has to start from being willing to ask for what it is that you need. Ask gently, ask lovingly.
I have words to add to that. The words are, I want to be close to you. If you tell someone, I want to be close to you, and it makes me feel so close when you notice my efforts, my, pardon me, or thank me, and gives very specific examples, then it's irresistible. I want to be close to you, and I would also recommend giving specific examples, because if your wife is not noticing, you might have to call her attention to it. Our mother always loves to say, if you give someone a present, you have to tell them about it. So it's important that you yourself honor what you're doing and mention it to your wife. I did this, I did that, letting you know I'm taking care of the family. Like, really honor all of this effort that you're doing, A, and then B, when you're asking her for this acknowledgement, you could say, for example, I work so hard at keeping things organized. I work so hard at work, and I just want you to notice that.
And also, sometimes our strengths are different than our wife's strengths or our husband's strengths. And so I would be that kind of person who would say, oh, I work so hard on organizing. It would mean so much to me if you would notice. Whereas for my husband, it takes no effort at all for him to organize. So if I notice that, it would be, well, thank you. Okay. So you want to be acknowledged. Realize it may not be because she doesn't want to notice. It may be because she doesn't realize the effort that you're putting into what you're doing. You bring it to her attention. She'll notice it again and comment.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. We do have a few questions. I know that one of the classes we're talking about mismatched libido, but we have definitely gotten several questions about what to do when your husband's not interested, what to do when a wife is not interested. It seems that so many couples have very mismatched libidos and are starting to give up. And obviously that's, very sad. And I don't want anyone to leave here with a hopeless feeling. So maybe just a sneak peek into what that class is going to look like, and maybe just a short answer to, God willing, be, broadened during the course itself.
Sure. You want me to start?
Sure.
Okay. I'm actually going to be offline in around 5 minutes at 1:50, just letting you know. So mismatched libido is, what we have found is that it's a great big umbrella statement for a whole lot of things. Like when you say mismatched libido, what it sounds like is we just have different sexual frequencies. I'm very hot and he runs very cool, or he's very cool and I run very hot. And that's just, what do we do with that? I'm in pain, I want, and he doesn't want, back and forth. But the truth is that underneath mismatched libido are so many factors, so many physical factors that can be hormonal, it can be connected to weight, it can be connected to illness, aging, medication. All of these things really, really affect your sex drive. So that's one part of it. The other part of it is that a mismatched libido can simply be, I'm not in the mood because I'm storing like a mountain of resentment inside of me. So I protect myself from having to engage intimately by shutting off my body. I just go cold. I go inwards, right? I'm no longer interested. Or I don't feel safe with this person. This person has hurt me and it's not repaired yet, and I just don't feel safe, so I'm not going to relax into them. All kinds of like all kinds of emotional layers of protection that are coming in the way, and you think it's your sex drive, and it's not about desire at all. It's about your emotional world. Or can you add to that? I just need to.
Absolutely. Oh, feel better.
I feel great.
Good. Yes, I would add into that also that so often it's about the person themselves. So often it's because you're not letting go and making yourself available. Maybe it's about body image. Maybe it's about your beliefs of what's okay and what's not okay. So many questions came in. I was taught this isn't allowed. I don't understand. I thought this isn't okay. I thought only a man needs this. Maybe a woman doesn't need this. Maybe a woman does need this. Is there such a thing? Am I good? Am I okay? Am I worthy? Am I allowed? Am I? And it's all about me. And so often what looks like a mismatched libido is somebody living in their head and not putting that aside and communicating about it. And the last thing I would say is that when we discuss mismatched libidos and how we approach them, and we go into all of these things separately and more in detail, intimacy, sex doesn't have to always culminate in a physical togetherness of sexual, of sex. It doesn't have to. It's a buildup of so many different things and different times. A person could have gone through a trauma where their libido could be way high, but as soon as they come to the point, they just can't. They can't. They want to. They think about it all the time. And they wait for that moment, and all of a sudden they're there and they can't. And sometimes when people are going through, whether it's hormonal, whether it's emotional, whether it's medication, whether it's trauma, whether it's a whole host of different things, whether it's body image even, going slowly, again, starting with that slow burn, building up, making the connection, feeling strong, intensifying the excitement that comes along with this, gives us a chance to throw off all this other stuff, this other chatter in our head, and really connect in this way.
And everything you said is so beautiful. I'm adding a sentence that just like you and your husband or you and your wife have so many other differences, like you like pizza, she likes French fries, whatever. The idea that there would be a perfectly matched and synchronized sex drive at the same time and the same frequency, it's a funny one. You know, we don't, it's not necessary in order to have beautiful intimacy. There can easily be a partner that runs, we say, a little hotter or a little colder naturally. And that does not need to be an inhibitor of your intimate space. You just need to learn to work with each other. Please pardon me that I need to run now.
But we're going to continue to talk about this so much during the course, in so much more detail. So it'll be available to you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Rivka, Malka. We're not done yet. We're gonna keep going with the Devora here. But thank you so much, Rivka, Malka, for being with us, and we will see you next week. Feel good.
Good. Thank you to our dear audience. Thanks for participating, and we're really excited to be learning together with you in our course. And
thank you, Rivka, Malka.
Awesome sister and teacher. And I give a 2:00 class, so I need to take a small self-care break before my class. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, Devora, we've got some more questions coming in, and we do have a little bit of time left, but I just want to go ahead and quickly welcome our newest members. Welcome, Leah. Welcome, RM. Welcome, RB. Welcome, Miriam. Wonderful to have all of you, and welcome, Sarah. Okay, great to have everybody here. Please come on back with just a little bit of time left. We will continue to answer a few more questions, and I would again love to be able to welcome you. So just come on back and let me know that you're in, and while we're still here on the line, you will be entered into the raffle. If you're having any difficulties still, please make sure to get your phone number in here. Once we close up the webinar, we won't have that information available to us. So just come on back and let us know if you've got anything else that you need help with. Devora, we've got a question. How can one be vulnerable and intimate while still hurting on a deeper level inside?
Okay, that's a really good question. And that covers a few things, actually. For starters, I want everyone to know that this is for healthy relationships. This is not for somebody who's in an abusive relationship. If somebody is in an abusive relationship, whether it's physical abuse or sexual abuse or extreme emotional abuse, this is not a good course for you. So I'm hoping and praying that this person who's asking is not in a place of abuse, and that's where that pain comes from. If they are, this course is not for you, and please, please reach out to somebody and get the proper help. Get the proper assistance. You don't need to be suffering. And remember that physical, sexual, and emotional abuse can go both from husband to wife and from wife to husband. We don't often think of it that way, but believe it or not, it's also quite common. And so if you are in this situation, please go find the help you need. This is not the course for you. Now we'll address the question itself. The question itself is, how do you deal with intimacy when you're in a place of extreme pain? Extreme pain comes from a lot of different places. You could be talking physical pain. You could be talking about emotional pain. You can be talking about resentments that are built up and they're just so hard to let go, things you've asked for again and again and again and again. The first thing I would tell you is to realize that your intimate relationship needs to be, to a certain degree, separate from your emotional relationship. Your physical relationship also sometimes has pain surrounding it, whether it's pain of rejection, whether it's been criticisms, whether it's been somebody never has, a spouse doesn't have enough time to be together with you. Whatever those things are, that can also hold its own pain. But the sacredness and the beauty of a physically intimate relationship is, in so many ways, it's restorative and healing powers to the relationship. So sometimes we're feeling so hurt, or we're feeling so much pain or so unrecognized that we don't want to communicate physically with our husbands. We just feel like, I don't want to go there. I don't want to be touched. I don't want to give him that pleasure. I don't want to give her that pleasure. I don't want to be there. The problem is, when you're not there, you're adding one more part onto the pain. And your relationship has that one more space of distance, one more notch away from accomplishing what you want, and that is togetherness, communication, and happiness on an individual level, and most importantly, on a level of the strength of your unit, of your couplehood. And so when you take all this and you separate it out from your intimate side, from your intimate experience, from your sexual, physical experience, you are shortchanging yourself by not giving to the relationship, because it really does heal. It does. It brings you closer. It does what words can't always do. It gives you a chance to be playful. It gives you a chance to be loving. It gives you a chance not to have to talk about the tough stuff and just communicate and just grow closer and just bond, which makes it in turn easier to talk about the other stuff. And it puts you in a place where you're more comfortable being vulnerable. So I would tell you to start from there, and I would add one more thing on, and that is it's so easy when we're feeling pain about things, again, to go into that blame space and to judge our spouses so harshly. What I want you to do is I want you to think about how you would judge yourself in those situations and see if maybe the same way as you make excuses for yourself, you can maybe make excuses for your husband, why it wasn't quite as hard or quite as bad as maybe you think it is. And that will sometimes dull some of the pain and open up your heart to that intimate experience. Does that answer that question?
I'm sorry. Thank you. I had muted myself to make sure that you didn't hear any background noise. That was a really beautiful answer. Thank you so much. We do have just a couple more questions that I want to make sure that I can get to before we close up here. This one I think is really important. If I'm not happy with myself, how can I connect properly with my spouse?
Oh, that's huge. That's huge. And it starts from there. Remember those circles we were talking about? If you're not happy with yourself, there are holes in your circle. There are holes in your circle. There's spaces in your circle that don't make your unit safe or strong. You're not giving to the unit the same way. You need to be focusing on yourself, and you need to be working with somebody to help you recognize your worthiness, to help you recognize your strengths, to help you be able to have the courage to stand in your strength. Because so much of our togetherness, so much of marriage, so much of facing the world together and supporting each other is knowing your worthiness, knowing your worth, knowing that you're beautiful in Hashem's eyes and you're beautiful in your own eyes. Because, you know, we talk about v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. To love your neighbor like yourself, it means you got to love yourself first. You don't love yourself, you're not giving your whole self. How can you expect somebody else to see you and hear you and recognize you for who you are when there's not a whole self there to see? So it leaves you always needing and always wanting. You got to feed yourself. And if you can't do the work on your own, definitely find somebody to do that work with.
Thank you. Just a couple more questions here. And before I do that, though, I just want to welcome our newest members. Welcome, PM. Wonderful to have you. CM, welcome. And welcome, Rachel. Okay. I will go ahead and get to these last couple of questions. Actually, somebody had asked just some questions about the course itself, so I do want to make sure that I get to that. I'm really interested in learning more and taking the course, but I work during that time of the class. Will I still be able to participate if I just listen to the recorded sessions? And I want to really reiterate the fact that this course is so special and unique because that is exactly how it was built. You can either join live if you're available, or you can listen to the recordings, but still have that same personalized attention and support that you need in order to make this journey worthwhile for you. So whether you're able to come each Wednesday or you're listening to those recordings when it's a convenient time for you, you you will have email access directly to Rivka, Malka, and Devora, and you'll have that one-on-one consultation with Devora as well. And we always urge everyone, and people come and they join and they want to make that consultation. They want to set that time. The second that they join, they're so excited and they're so eager to get their time with Devora. And I would definitely encourage you to listen to some of the classes, start building on what Rivka, Malka, and Devora have to teach, and start learning how to implement some of these tools into your daily life, and really wait until you have that opportune time to talk to her after you've already started building and rebuilding and working on some of the things they're going to have you implement, because I really think that will be the most worthwhile way for you to get your time with Devora. Of course, throughout the program, though, again, you have that email ability. And I, again, encourage everyone to listen to the classes. And when something comes up, when something is bothering you, when something, you just have this question and you really need it to be answered, go ahead and email Devora and let her know, what it is that you've got on your mind. And she is so gracious and wonderful with giving her attention and her time. So I definitely encourage everyone to take advantage of that benefit and that bonus when you become that platinum member. So again, if you're not able to join live, and so many people aren't, you will have the ability to listen to the recordings and still have your questions answered throughout the way.
And again, that's the beauty of signing up in this way. If you have a question that you don't have a chance to ask because you're not on the live show, it's okay. You can put it in, and either we'll communicate back with you an answer, or we'll say, you know what, that's a great question. We're going to cover it in this next class. Thanks for bringing it up. And so your question, one way or another, will always be answered.
Thank you so much. I've got one question that came in, and I know that you mentioned it briefly. I don't think we'll have time to get into the full gamut of it, but I know that so many people do struggle with this. A woman is asking, she says she's never been able to orgasm, and is there something wrong with me, she says. And just, I know from taking this course the last time and from everything that we've offered, I just want you to know, I wanted to bring this up on the live class because I want you to know there is not something wrong with you. There are so many women who go through this. So before Devora even gives her answer, I just want you to know that I've seen this question come up so many different times. And Devora, you'll have definitely more insight than myself, but I really want this member to know that she's not alone in this struggle, that it is a challenge for many, many, many women. So please, I don't want you to leave this class thinking that there is something wrong. But go ahead, Devora, I'm sorry.
Absolutely, and I hope we were able to give you the answers when you listened on the last class.
Thank you.
Orgasm is something that we hear about or see in movies or read about, this earth-shattering feeling, this shaking of your body, this sweating, this whole thing that at times it can be. This entire shift, this escape from reality. And at times that can be. But the reality is recognizing what is orgasm is a start. So many people don't understand what orgasm actually is. Just like there's lots and lots of, levels of pleasure, there's lots of levels of orgasm. And it could be having an orgasm and don't even realize it. And hopefully we can help you build to a stronger orgasm. The second thing is, so many women don't understand their bodies, and their husbands don't understand how their bodies work. And so they don't put the proper time or skill into pleasuring their wives. And their wives don't know enough about their body to guide them. That's something we'd like to talk about also. It's very, very important to understand that. It's also most important to understand that Hashem wants a woman to get pleasure, to orgasm. It is so important that he gave a part of a woman. He gave her a clitoris, which has no other purpose than pleasure. It's not a muscle. It doesn't support anything. It's not a joint. It doesn't do anything else except give pleasure to a woman. Hashem created us that way because we are supposed to be feeling this pleasure. But between a lack of skill, a lack of understanding and a lack of identifying, and the intense focus that so many people have on having an orgasm, we think we're missing out on something. So as we learn more skill and as we define what it is, as you learn to recognize the buildup in your body that leads towards orgasm, and as we take away some of the focus on having an orgasm, it's easier to have it. It's kind of like saying, okay, I'm going on a diet. So all day long, all I'm doing is thinking about the food, thinking about food, thinking about food, because I'm not supposed to be having food. Instead of thinking, you know what, I'd like to take better care of myself. And so maybe I'm not going to have a second portion. Maybe I'm not going to eat this. It has a lot of sugar. And all of a sudden, you're finding that you're reaching your goals because there isn't this intense focus of thinking about it and trying to achieve it. That's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure on a woman, and it's a huge amount of pressure on a husband. And so often husbands will write into me and say, I can't bring my wife to orgasm. What's wrong? Is there something wrong with what I'm doing? Why the focus on orgasm? It will happen. It will happen. You have to make space for it. And the more intense focus you put on it, the less space there is for it to actually happen. But there's nothing wrong with you if you haven't accomplished it yet. And many women struggle with this until they learn all these things. And we'll get much, much more into it because there's so much to cover.
Thank you so much, Devora.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I just want to go ahead and let people know that we do have to close up in just a couple minutes. There are some additional questions that are coming in, and I really urge you to please go ahead and register now. We will have so much time over the next 8 weeks to get to all of these questions. Not only will Devora and Rivka Malka be available to you, as I mentioned, to answer your questions on a personal basis, but throughout the classes, you'll see that these questions are answered. We actually, as we mentioned, had this course debut in February. And the reason that we asked Rivka Malka and Devora back in a live series once again, as opposed to, being able to offer those recorded sessions, is because they take so much personal care in developing the classes each week. By looking at the questions that have come in and working around that and structuring the class in order to answer the questions specifically for the audience they have in front of them. So it's not just a standard class that was recorded, years ago or months ago, and here's a class to teach you this and teach you that. It's really something that is so personalized and developed literally like on the spot. They take your questions and they help use that in order to be able to work with the broad outline that we've given. So I encourage you all to go ahead and grab your spot now. We will stay open for just another few minutes so that you can still get entered into the raffle. But before I go ahead and close up, I just want to say, Devora, thank you so much for being here. You've really made such an impact on everyone I see. Thank you so much coming into the chat box. People are really excited to be joining you for the continuation. And I do want to just say, when we've got, still several hundred people here on the line, is there something that you can leave us with if anybody is still sitting on the fence, kind of some last parting words to help them make up their minds?
So much. But what I most want to tell you, I think what I most want to leave you with, hold on to that hope. Hold on to that yearning. Yearning and hope opens your heart, and it's capable. You can. You're able. It's in your reach. You can do this. You can make a difference in your marriage. You can make a difference in your intimate life. You deserve happiness. Your marriage deserves the respect of putting all your efforts into, of opening your heart, shifting your mindset, looking what you can do to make it something that just makes you feel amazing all the time. And remember that it doesn't take one day or 1 week. You get little tips each week. You learn new concepts. We answer more questions. And even if it's just one person asking a question, realize that one person represents 20, 30, 40 people out there who have the exact same situation and the exact same question. And we try and get to them all because it's so important to realize that you can make a difference in your marriage. You can be happy. You deserve to be happy. And I would leave you just with that hope and with that yearning. And the harder a place you're in, by the way, the stronger your yearning. If you're just cynical, or if you're just like, okay, this is the way it is, there's nothing I can do about it, then you're not even going to be open to gaining what there is to be gained. Open your heart and yearn for it. Daven to Hashem for it. Learn all you can. Listen to the classes. Practice the skills we're giving you, and it will be stronger. It will be different, and you will be happy.
Thank you so much. Before we close, I want to say welcome to Yael, welcome Adina. So happy to have both of you. Welcome MS, and welcome Khani. Okay, we are going to go ahead and close up for the day. Thank you to everyone from around the world, all of the different time zones. Thank you for coming and spending your time with us.
It's been such a pleasure. Such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Devora. And if you are still needing to get your name and your telephone number in here for us to give you a call and help you, please go ahead and put that in now. I will leave the webinar open for just a little bit. You won't hear us or see us anymore, but you will have the opportunity to get your name and number in if you just need some help registering. Otherwise, I hope that you run over right now and grab your spot, jewishworkshops.com/intimate, so that you can still get entered into the raffle. All right, I will see everyone that has registered, all of our brand new members, next week on Wednesday. And until then, thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you, Devora.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
You too.